Hey there, quirky folks! I am your host, Anna, and today we're going to look at some of the errors that we spotted in Phase 4 movies. As long-running fans of the MCU, it has been our sacred duty to rewatch these films. Phase 4 has been a mixed bag as there were some top-notch movies, but the others haven't been the best. As Phase 4 is at its end, I decided that it was time for a rewatch of all its films before Wakanda Forever. And while going through these movies, I discovered that they were full of mistakes and errors. I mean, yeah, the plot holes have been covered time and time again in many videos on YouTube. But I bet that many of you wouldn't have gone through these films frame by frame to pick up the many continuity details and other errors. Well, I did. And you'd be surprised to know that there are plenty of mistakes that you guys could spot when you watch these films again. I am choosing to go with the second half of Phase 4 first. So in this video, we'd be covering the errors spotted in No Way Home, Multiverse of Madness, and Love and Thunder. And then Black Widow, Shang-Chi, and Eternals will follow up in the next video. Before I start, it'd be nice if you guys would hit those like and subscribe buttons and support our channel. With that out of the way, let's look at Spider-Man No Way Home. All in all, No Way Home managed to pull off an amazing job bringing three beloved Spider-Men together. But for that to happen, we had to ignore a few plot holes like Peter actually creating a bunch of branched realities by fixing the villains, Doc Ock having a completely different look from the last time he did Near the River, and so on. But there were a few other errors that we visually spotted on the screen while rewatching this movie. For instance, when Peter goes back to his high school and walks up the stairs, we see a mural behind him. Looking at it clearly, you can see that a part of the mural contains a chemical structure. Now, if you're good with chemistry, then you'd know that this particular chemical structure doesn't really form any relevant compound. It was just a random incorrect drawing. After this one, I spotted three other errors in the final battle. Just as soon as Dr. Octopus arrives in this fight, he takes hold of Peter 2 and Peter 3 with his upper two tentacles.
Leave them.
And while he is holding them, we see that he also grabs Electro with one of his upper tentacles. This couldn't have been possible since he was already holding a Spider-Man with it. The VFX department clearly made a mistake with this one shot, as in the very next scene, he was indeed holding Electro with the lower tentacle. And another visual error in this scene is also a bit of a plot hole. You see, Doc Ock should not have been able to resist Electro's current. In Spider-Man 2, it was revealed that his tentacles were immune to heat and magnetism.
Successful fusion. They are impervious to heat and magnetism.
But they weren't immune to electricity, as that's what fried his chip and knocked him out later as well. So, he should not have been able to hold on to Electro and administer the cure like he did, as it would have knocked him out immediately. And the final error from this movie came in the battle against Norman Osborn on the Big Shield of Liberty. You see, Peter went for a massive punch that Osborn dodged, so his punch made a huge dent on the shield. But this dent was nowhere to be found in the rest of the fight. So once again, the VFX guys forgot to keep this dent consistent. That's all from No Way Home, and we'll be moving on to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
I'm sorry, Stephen.
I want to admit that Doctor Strange 2 was a very well-made movie in terms of its errors. Sure, it should have been longer. And maybe many of you felt that Wanda's turn into an all-out villain was a little sudden and out of character.
You break the rules and become a hero. I do it and I become the enemy. That doesn't seem fair.
But the editing team on this one and the VFX department were spot on. Still, there were three small mistakes that we managed to pick up. The first of them came with Wong's wig. Notice his hair when Strange and Wong first catch America Chavez after defeating Gargantos. Now look at them in the very next scene at this pizza diner. So what happens here? Does Wong go and get a haircut before walking into the diner? Oh wait, even this short hairdo is a fake wig attached to Benedict Wong's head. So maybe the diner scene or the other scenes were from the reshoots. But why didn't they use the same wigs? It's just crazy. Also, another thing I noticed in the diner is that different takes were used for America Chavez as well. Just look at how she holds the pizza in this scene. It's folded in a few scenes and she's holding it straight in the others. And it's not like she folds and unfolds the slice between scenes when the camera is on her back. It keeps going back and forth, and having noticed it, you'll be like, just pick one way to eat your pizza, Miss Chavez. You can't have it both ways. Clearly, two different takes of the scene have been attached together, and it creates a minor continuity error. Next up, Doctor Strange's watch is missing in one shot. When Strange uses his watch as a key to unlock the doorway to the Book of Ashanti, you'll see that the watch goes missing in the next shot. Clearly, the VFX guys forgot to add it in this different angle.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
Now let's move on to the biggest blunder amongst the MCU movies of 2022, Thor: Love and Thunder. There was a lot that went wrong with this movie. And I'm not even going to start with the underusage of Gore the God Butcher, the overall short runtime,
How exciting!
or the fact that the plan to use Eternity created plot holes for past movies like Infinity War and Endgame. Those questionable narrative elements could take an entire separate video. So here, I'm just going to talk about the visual mistakes and continuity errors I spotted in the movie. And they start right from the beginning. Remember when Bale found his god Rapu and started gobbling a fruit? Just look at him carefully as he talks to the Golden God. Anyone who has been a Christian Bale fan knows that he has a mole on the right of his nose. But while talking to Rapu, this mole just shifts to the left.
Of the eternal reward. Is this why you celebrate?
And the chunks of the fruit he ate also switched places. So clearly, the footage had been mirrored for 2 shots, creating a continuity error. But you just can't stop looking at it once you notice it. For the next error, when James is at her chemo session and Darcy comes in with a few bags of chips, she places them on the table. Then as they continue to talk, the placing of these chips on the table changes without Darcy even touching them. After this, when Thor asks Zeus for his lightning bolt, the old god throws a thunderbolt back at the mount, but it was missing from there in another shot. And then it came back on in another shot before Valkyrie stole it. So that's another error from the VFX department. Now for the final error comes in the amazing Dwayne Johnson joke.
With a dude I met called Dwayne.
Earlier in the film, he mentioned that 2 Cronin dads hold their hands and produce a new Cronin baby boy.
The song that my dad sang to my other dad when they were courting. When 2 Cronins want to make a baby, they get together inside a mountain and they go down to a little lava pool. They hold hands over the hot lava and then after a month, they pull their hands apart and they find they've created a beautiful new Cronin baby boy.
But that seems to be a consistency error, as it doesn't fit with what Korg said in Ragnarok. He mentioned he had a mom who also had a boyfriend.
Hardly anyone turned up, except for my mum and her boyfriend, who I hate.
But here in Love and Thunder, he mentioned that he came from 2 dads. So, unless one of his dads was the mother in their marriage, or he was adopted by another alien female species, this does stand as an error. It shows how Taika and co just keep improvising so many things on set and then forget about them in the next film. Okay, that's all from part 1 of the errors we spotted in Phase 4 movies. We'll return with the part 2 involving Black Widow, Shang-Chi, and Eternals. Until then, hit those like and subscribe buttons if you forgot to do it the first time I asked. Goodbye, and I'll see you in the next one.